Triple H just dropped the most emotional bombshell in WWE history with a stunning announcement about Stephanie McMahon's pregnancy that has the entire wrestling world in tears. And if you're not absolutely overwhelmed by the game's heartfelt words about expanding their family while running the biggest wrestling company on the planet, you clearly don't understand how significant this moment is for WWE's first family. What we just witnessed wasn't just a pregnancy announcement, it was a powerful declaration about family, legacy, and the future of the McMahon dynasty that will change everything about how we view WWE's leadership. The sight of Triple H, the man who has portrayed the cold, calculating corporate villain for decades, breaking down with genuine emotion while talking about becoming a father again and what this means for Stephanie and their growing family will be remembered as one of the most human and vulnerable moments ever captured from WWE's top executive. This wasn't the cool character, this was Paul Levesque, the father and husband, showing us his heart. Stephanie and I are thrilled to announce that we're expecting our fourth child, and this blessing means more to our family than any championship or business success ever could. Those weren't just rehearsed corporate words, they were the deeply personal emotions of a man who has reached a point in his life where family legacy matters more than professional accomplishments. The raw vulnerability in his voice captured something we rarely see from WWE's leadership. You want to talk about announcements that fundamentally change how we view wrestling's power couple? Triple H didn't just reveal a pregnancy, he opened up about the struggles, the journey, and the profound meaning that this fourth child represents for their family at this stage of their lives and careers. The honesty and emotional depth were absolutely stunning. The press conference where Triple H made this announcement was supposed to be about WWE's upcoming premium live events and business initiatives when suddenly the game went completely off script with something far more personal and meaningful. "Before we discuss business, I need to share something that matters infinitely more," he said, his voice already cracking with emotion. But here's what makes this announcement absolutely special and different from typical celebrity pregnancy reveals. Triple H used this moment to reflect on how becoming parents changed both his and Stephanie's approach to running WWE and their philosophy about legacy, succession planning, and what they want to leave behind for the next generation. The most touching aspect of his announcement was how he spoke about their three daughters' reactions to learning they'll have another sibling. "Our girls are beyond excited, and watching them talk about teaching their new brother or sister about our family's wrestling legacy is something that reminds me what all of this is really about." The pride and love in his voice was absolutely genuine. Here's a question that's going to reveal how much WWE's first family means to wrestling fans. How did you react emotionally when Triple H announced Stephanie's pregnancy? And what does this news mean for WWE's future leadership structure? The actual moment of the announcement was so emotionally charged that even hardened wrestling journalists in attendance admitted to tearing up. Triple H had to pause multiple times to compose himself, and when he pulled out his phone to show a sonogram image, the vulnerability and pure joy on his face transcended any character or corporate role. But the most powerful part of his statement came when he discussed how this pregnancy has given both him and Stephanie renewed perspective about work-life balance and what truly matters. Stephanie has been an incredible partner in building this company, but watching her prepare to become a mother again reminds me that our most important legacy isn't what happens in that ring, it's the family we're raising. The way Triple H spoke about Stephanie's strength, dedication, and ability to balance executive responsibilities with motherhood was so genuine and heartfelt that it provided rare insight into their private relationship beyond the public personas we typically see. "She's the most remarkable woman I've ever known, and I'm in awe of how she manages everything while preparing to bring another life into this world." Quick question for the relationship dynamics experts: what does Triple H's public praise of Stephanie during this announcement reveal about their partnership both personally and professionally? The most surprising element of this announcement was how Triple H connected the pregnancy to WWE's future direction and succession planning. He revealed that becoming parents again has made both him and Stephanie think deeply about building a company culture that supports working families and creates opportunities for the next generation. "This baby represents not just our family's future, but WWE's future," Triple H explained with surprising candor. "We're building something that our children and potentially their children will inherit, and that responsibility weighs on us in ways that championship reigns never did." The long-term thinking and generational perspective was fascinating to hear. But perhaps the most emotional moment came when Triple H was asked about whether this pregnancy changes their timeline for succession planning and eventually stepping back from day-to-day operations. His response was so honest and vulnerable that it caught everyone off guard. "Stephanie and I have talked extensively about this," he admitted, his voice thick with emotion. "We love this business more than anything except our family, but we also recognize that our children are only young ones. This pregnancy has made us really examine our priorities and what we want the next decade to look like for our family." The revelation that Triple H and Stephanie are actively discussing potentially stepping back from WWE leadership at some point to focus more on family time adds fascinating context to recent executive appointments and organizational restructuring. This isn't just a pregnancy announcement, it's potentially a preview of WWE's future leadership transition. Here's another question for the business succession experts: how do you think this pregnancy announcement and Triple H's comments about family priorities will affect WWE's long-term executive planning and corporate structure? The most touching detail that Triple H shared was about how their three daughters have been helping Stephanie prepare for the new baby. Watching our girls decorate the nursery and talk about all the things they want to teach their new sibling about wrestling, about our family history, about what it means to be a McMahon, it's incredibly special and emotional for both of us. The testimonies from WWE employees who have worked closely with the couple reveal that this pregnancy has brought a noticeably different energy to the corporate offices. You can see how happy they both are, one executive revealed. There's this renewed sense of joy and perspective that's actually made the work environment more positive. But the most surprising revelation came when Triple H discussed how this pregnancy has affected his approach to running creative and making booking decisions. Becoming a father again reminds me that we're creating entertainment that families watch together, including my own family. That influences how I think about content, storytelling, and what messages we're sending. The connection between personal fatherhood and professional creative decisions provides fascinating insight into how Triple H's leadership style has evolved. The idea that his parenting experiences directly influenced WWE's creative direction adds depth to understanding recent programming changes and family-friendly initiatives. The fan reaction to this announcement has been overwhelmingly positive and supportive. Social media erupted with congratulatory messages, heartfelt well wishes, and genuine excitement about WWE's first family expanding. Even critics who disagree with Triple H's booking decisions put aside wrestling debates to celebrate this personal milestone. Here's a question about parasocial relationships. Why do wrestling fans feel such genuine emotional investment in the personal lives of executives like Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, and is that healthy fandom or something concerning? The most heartwarming responses have come from WWE superstars past and present who have worked with the couple. Multiple wrestlers posted touching messages about how Triple H and Stephanie have supported them through their own family journeys, creating a beautiful full-circle moment of mutual support and respect. Triple H and Stephanie gave me time off when my wife was pregnant and never made me feel guilty about prioritizing family, one wrestler revealed. Seeing them experience that same joy now is really special, and their baby will have an incredible extended WWE family. But perhaps the most significant aspect of this announcement is what it represents for WWE's corporate culture regarding family and work-life balance. Triple H specifically mentioned implementing new policies to support working parents within WWE, suggesting that this pregnancy has inspired systemic changes benefiting all employees. Stephanie and I have been discussing how WWE can better support employees who are starting or expanding families, Triple H revealed. This pregnancy has given us personal insight into challenges that working parents face, and we want to use our position to make meaningful improvements for everyone in our company. The commitment to improving family support policies throughout WWE is perhaps the most tangible positive outcome from this announcement. When company leadership experiences something personally and uses that experience to benefit all employees, it demonstrates the kind of empathetic leadership that creates lasting organizational change. Here's a question about corporate responsibility. Should all major companies be led by people who have personal experience with challenges like balancing career and family? And does that lived experience make them better leaders? The most interesting business implication is how this pregnancy might affect Triple H and Stephanie's travel schedules and involvement in day-to-day operations. Sources suggest they're already planning to delegate more responsibilities to other executives to ensure family time remains protected. The investigation into WWE's executive structure reveals that recent promotions and expanded responsibilities for other senior leaders may have been partly motivated by Triple H and Stephanie anticipating needing more flexibility during and after this pregnancy. The strategic planning shows thoughtful preparation. But the most touching element that Triple H shared was about their three daughters' dreams for their new siblings' future in wrestling. Our oldest has already started booking fantasy matches for when her new brother or sister grows up and enters the family business, he said with a proud smile. The fact that they're already thinking in terms of wrestling legacy at their age is both hilarious and heartwarming. The generational perspective and the way the McMahon-Levesque children are already thinking about family legacy and wrestling tradition provides a glimpse into WWE's potential future decades from now. Wrestling dynasties are built across generations, and this fourth child represents another potential chapter in that ongoing story. The comparison to other wrestling families and dynasties throughout history is inevitable, but the McMahon-Levesque family occupies a unique position as both performers and corporate leadership. This pregnancy announcement connects to a legacy that extends back to Vince McMahon Sr. and forward to an uncertain but exciting future. Here's a question for the wrestling dynasty experts. How does the McMahon-Levesque family compare to other great wrestling families in terms of influence, longevity, and cross-generational impact on the industry? The most important consideration is how this pregnancy and Triple H's comments about family priorities might signal an eventual transition in WWE's leadership. While he and Stephanie aren't stepping away immediately, this announcement seems to acknowledge that change is inevitable and planning for succession is active. The testimonies from WWE board members and major shareholders reveal that investors are comfortable with the couple's long-term thinking and appreciate their transparency about family priorities. The fact that they're thinking generationally rather than quarterly shows the kind of leadership that builds sustainable companies, one board member noted. But perhaps the most heartwarming aspect of this entire announcement is simply witnessing two people who have achieved incredible professional success still finding their greatest joy and meaning in family. In an industry often criticized for prioritizing business over personal well-being, Triple H and Stephanie's obvious excitement about this pregnancy provides a refreshing perspective. The coming months will be fascinating as WWE navigates having their chief content officer balancing executive responsibilities with supporting his wife through pregnancy and preparing for a new baby. Either way, this announcement reminds us that behind the corporate titles and wrestling characters are real people experiencing real-life milestones. Here's a final philosophical question for everyone. In an age where we often separate public figures' professional and personal lives, is there something valuable about moments like this that remind us of our shared humanity regardless of fame or position? The wrestling world is celebrating Triple H and Stephanie McMahon's pregnancy announcement with genuine joy and excitement. This fourth child represents not just their family's expansion but potentially another future chapter in WWE's ongoing generational story. The heartfelt emotion Triple H showed during this announcement revealed dimensions of WWE's leadership that we rarely see, reminding everyone that family always comes first even for the game. Triple H's words about Stephanie, their daughters, and this new baby weren't just an announcement, they were a beautiful reminder that wrestling's greatest legacy isn't measured in championships or business success, but in the families we build and the values we pass to the next generation. Congratulations to WWE's first family on their wonderful news.